Stories bring lessons, laughter, unforgettable experiences, and memories that far outlive the storytellers themselves. Great stories happen to those who can tell them. This is the Jackin Around podcast, hosted by two-time Academy of Country Music Award winner and master storyteller Jack Ingram. And now to introduce today's guest, here is podcast producer Matt Pivato.
Thank you, Mr. Rowdy Yates. Welcome to part one of a two-part podcast series of episode 6, featuring the legendary singer-songwriter and author Ray Wylie Hubbard. Jack opens the podcast visiting with Ray about his most recent project on Big Machine Records. And the conversation quickly turns into Ray sharing stories about the early days in his career, including attending high school with Michael Martin Murphey and B.W. Stevenson in Oak Cliff, Texas, right outside of Dallas, to befriending Jerry Jeff Walker and Ramblin' Jack Elliott back in the early 70s, late 60s, and sharing stories about two mutual friends Ray and Jack lost last year, Jerry Jeff Walker and Billy Joe Shaver. Before we begin, some quick housekeeping notes. Provided in the description below are Jack and Ray's bios, links to connect on social media, and links to listen on your favorite audio platform, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify, and a link to jackinaroundpodcast.com, where you can access links to the entire podcast catalog. Most importantly, if you enjoy this podcast, help us spread the word by hitting that subscribe button. Now, here is Ray and Jack sitting outside enjoying the nice spring weather in Austin, Texas.
This is right about where you picked me up that day to go sing on your record the first time.
Yeah.
At
the Zone, wasn't it?
No, it was over
at Gerf's, wasn't it?
It was at Gerf's.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Gerf's house.
Yeah, at Gerf's house. Yeah, the studio. He's doing pretty good. He's they just built all these mansions around him now, and and they've offered him a whole bunch of money, but he said, where else could he go to?
Unless they offer him a couple million,
Yeah,
he can't go anywhere.
He can't get that lake and his little studio, so he's doing good. We're trying to get the next record out. We've got your and Waylon's thing done, and we're just figuring out a little deal. We'll probably put it out at probably next year, first quarter next year.
Was that thing with Big Machine just a one-off, or is that?
No, we're doing the next one, man. They've been really happy, and they're considered. We weren't able to go out and tour. We put it out in July during the pandemic, and they were going to go out there and put me out with some big shots, some of their guys, to when the record came out, to do a big promotion, and but they've been really happy,
That's great.
So yeah, we're doing. It was one with an option, so we're doing the next one, and it's co-starring too. I mean, what are friends for if you can't exploit them? You can't
Co-starring too.
Yeah, just gotta. Use their, hey, could you think you could get on your social media and talk about this album that we did?
Who was on the first one?
That's a long con there.
Yeah, you've always been in the long con.
Now the first one, had a Beatle, an Eagle, a Crow, and a Was Not Was. Had Ringo, Joe, and Chris Robinson, and Pam Tillis, and Ronnie Dunn, and some of these young kids, Aaron Lee Tashin, and Parkin Poe. So yeah, her and Ashley McBride, she did a song.
She's great. I love Aaron Lee Tashin too.
Yeah, so it was it turned out pretty good, just like I say, we had it done, and I had, you get like I say, Ringo and Joe Walsh and Chris Robinson on a track, you get a little attention. We were going to put it out. This guy, Julian Ramus, he's working at Gibson. He said, what are you doing? So I made this record. I'd like to hear it. And then called me up and said, Scott Bichette, I'd like to offer you a record deal. So June and I flew up there, and he said, I'll put this record out. And Judy goes, we'll lease it to you.
How do you take that?
And he went, okay. And then so we worked out the same deal and more, whatever it was, that we'd been getting with 30 Tigers and all this other stuff. So
right.
So it turned out really well. So yeah, we're real happy, and we are too. So we're going to do the next one. So we'll probably finish it up, put it out probably the first quarter next year. So
who's going to be on this one?
Well, let's see, you
Okay.
and Waylon
I
Payne.
like TikTok billing.
Yeah, I got. Well, no, you're. Well, then there's Willie.
Oh yeah, who?
You know, and so you're
I'm
in,
somewhere below that.
well, there's 10 songs and you're in the top 10.
All right, hey man, I'll take it.
No, and got the Blue Bonnets, Kathy Valentine's group, which they
Right.
rocked out, and gosh, I can't even remember right now. I got Hayes and Jesse Dayton and Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm. She's
Right.
incredible, and so yeah, we're just now finishing up the mixes and everything. Got Winona on a track, and
No kidding.
yeah, and just yesterday, just got Steve Lukather from Toto and Ringo's band played guitar on it. So,
wow.
yeah, it's gonna, like I say, it should be. It's all over the place, as far as songs. So,
Can you imagine though, from Oak Cliff, Texas,
yeah,
and the route that you took to get to a place where you're hanging out with an eagle, a was not was,
yeah,
a beetle,
and a crow, yeah,
and a crow, and a dun.
Sometimes, man, I just feel like Forrest Gump, just kind of where I just kind of hang around and hey, look here, but it, so I'm very grateful.
Well, you're so nonchalant about it all the time.
Yeah, well,
That when I think about, we talked about this on the phone the other day about going from Red River or Oak Cliff to Red River to who knows where, to oblivion.
Who remembers where?
Yeah, but somehow coming out of that oblivion, having had, this song is by Wylie Hubbard.
Yeah, I mean it's been, I'm flabbergasted.
And that was before you really like all of that happening. That's enough for a career. But then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
Then at 42 or whatever it was.
42. Okay, I came out of the fog and started wanting to be a real songwriter, and started trying to learn the craft of it. I mean, early on there wasn't much craft to it. You get a 6-pack of beer and go, yeah, it's born, and you just you just do it, But then later on, I said, wow, I really want to make this song valid, even if it's a goofy song like Snake Farm. It's still, I feel like it's well written within, and so.
By the way, that's my kid's favorite song.
Oh yeah, well, good.
I go, hey, I'm gonna sit down and talk with the Snake Farm dude tomorrow. They go, all right.
The Snake Farm dude.
It's better than the Redneck Mother, dude.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of one of the
Yeah, you gotta kind of pick your battles.
Oh, I have 2 albatrosses now.
It equaled you out. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
It is interesting though to think about the fact that, like, Up Against the Wall, Redneck Mother was probably written in 20 minutes.
Probably so. Well, it's actually kind of the first verse and the chorus, almost got beat up in this bar in Red River, New Mexico, because it's a real redneck country bar. And I went in there to get beer, and we went back to this little place, and it was, all the hippies were there, B.W. Stevenson, Bob Livingston, having a jam. And I said, hey, man, I almost got beat up. And they said, hey, it's your turn to sing. And I went, he was born in Oklahoma, because I walked out, and there's a pickup truck with Oklahoma plates and a gun rack. And I just kind of made up the first verse and the chorus. And then I guess about, Bob Livingston was there, and he heard the song, and he went to L.A. to play with Michael Murphy, then to Austin to play with Jerry Jeff. And so they say one night at the Broken Spoke, Jerry Jeff broke a string. So he said, Bob, sing a song. So Bob sang the song I made up that night.
He remembered it.
As the first verse and chorus, and it's Jerry Jeff. Because Jerry Jeff broke a string, and, they didn't have roadies back in those days. I mean, Jerry Jeff had, someone roll the dope.
Right.
Roll joint.
Rollers.
That guy didn't know how to change strings.
Right.
So Bob sang Redneck Mother, and and Jerry went, well, I'm gonna learn that. So then they went down to Lukenbach to do Viva Telinga, and they called me up and said, we want to record Redneck Mother. And I went, why? It's just a, thing we just sang it. And they said, but we need a second verse. So I wrote the second verse on the phone right there, just whatever I was drinking and everything.
Falstaff beer.
And so then they put it out. And so I, put the song, which the thing about Jerry Jeff was, man, he was a great songwriter, but he was very gracious by putting my song on his record, but then Gary Dunn and Guy Clark, and kind of he could have put a whole album with just him, but the song was important no matter who wrote it to him. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because Jaded Lover was not written by him. That's one of my favorite. Like,
oh yeah,
even though a lot of his songs are my favorite that he wrote, obviously.
Yeah, Trashy Women, all the other.
Chris Wall.
Yeah.
I mean, he brought Chris Wall down from
Montana
Jackson Hole.
Or somewhere like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny to think about that because I remember when I first started making records, it's hard to figure out what's, if you're going to do one that's not your own, you want it to be something that makes sense and sticks and stands out.
Of course.
And he made a career out of doing that.
Yeah. And like I say, he was still writing up to the very end, man. He was still, writing songs, and he was just,
Did you guys ever become tight friends, or was it always arm's length kind of cool stuff?
Well, I would say he was my friend. We didn't hang out, monthly or anything, but like, right after high school, we went to Red River, New Mexico. Rick Feller and Wayne Kidd, a little folk group, and then later on we opened a little club up there, and people would travel through on the way, and Jerry Jeff came into town, and everybody was real excited. Jerry Jeff, he wrote Bojangles. He's a big star. This is going to be so good for the town. So Mr. Bojangles, songwriters in Red River, New Mexico. Oh, this is really exciting. Then about 2 or 3 days later, they were coming up to me like, when do you think he's going to leave? But
did we just get a new resident town drunk?
When do you think a friend's going to leave? But Jerry Jeff was always so gracious and fun. Like when the Gonzo band left Jerry Jeff and became my band for a while. Back in,
was that before they went with Murphy?
It was somewhere in the 80s. Is they, left Jerry Jeff and became my band, which, looking back, is kind of like they just wanted a different seat on the Titanic.
Yeah, let's say going from the Titanic to...
Oh, it's bad over here. Well, let's go with Ray.
Zeppelin.
Whoa, iceberg. Because that's, back, it is so, so the Gonzos, they were my band for a while and everything. And what was the question?
It wasn't that.
Wasn't that, was it?
Well, that's funny because Jerry Jeff had that happen a couple times, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they? So they left him to go with you.
Yeah, and then some of them came back, and the Gonzo survivors and everything. And but no, to answer your question, Jerry Jeff was always, he was a friend. I didn't see him, that often. Maybe every 2 or 3 months, something like that. We'd run each other. He'd call me up every once in a while.
I got a call from him about probably a month before he passed away, and he couldn't talk.
Yeah.
But man, he had texted, and I called him.
Yeah.
And he got on the phone doing his best, and I was like, "What are you saying?" He goes, "Just text me." And it was really, it was an interesting moment for me because we were talking about getting together and listening to songs and going for a walk or something. And then about a week before he passed away, he texted me and said, "Hey, we had some good times together."
Yeah, it was a hard one. He and Billy Joe, man, they were, I'm an old guy too, but having those two guys that I've known for so long, met Billy Joe when I was about 22 at his Mother Blues. I was out there, this guy came over. I can't remember his name now, but he said, "Hey, I want you to meet this songwriter." So I go over at this booth and this guy comes and says, "Hey, Billy Joe, this is Wylie Hubbard." He's a songwriter. "Ray Wylie, this is Billy Joe." Billy goes, "I just took some LSD about 2 hours ago, and I need about a half-inch more." And I went, I knew what he was talking about, but I couldn't help him. He didn't say, "Hey, I need another tab or another."
I need about a half-inch more.
Need about a half-inch more. So that's when, we hit it off.
That's great. Did you hang out with him much?
We did. Every time we'd do a gig together, I'd open for him, but he'd call me up and say, "I'm going on first since I'm older than you. I won't go home." And so we'd play these gigs. He'd go on first.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. No, yeah. He just said, "Yeah, I'm always going on first."
What was that like following Billy Joe?
It was you had to. It was fun in a way because Billy Joe was just, he was incredible. But then you come out and, like you say, you gotta prove it. You got to do that Springsteen thing. You got to prove it all night. So we'd come out and play, and you had to be, ready, and to do it. But it was fun. He was always just, his crowd, my crowd were just, about the same.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
When was that?
Oh man, I've owned forever. I mean, I've owned so many shows for Billy Joe, but then he would open for me because he wanted to go home.
Here comes the opening act after Billy Joe.
Yeah.
So I was reading your book about hanging out with Mance Lipscomb.
Oh yeah. I was very fortunate, but I feel very fortunate, but like I say, being an old cat, but I saw Mance and Lightning Hopkins and of course Guy in Towns and Ernest. I opened for Ernest Tubb once in Oklahoma City.
You're
man.
Kidding me.
Man, that was a treat. It was a thrill. And so it got to hang out with guys like that and, doing doing shows with Waylon and everything. So yeah, I feel very fortunate that I've, been able to see these incredible, powerful musician songwriters,
It's interesting that saying of records you've made post 92, 93, 94, how, I don't know if you went back on purpose or what, but like the craft of blues, really hardcore blues writing is like you dove in.
It's a thing, like I say, when I got clean in 41, I kind of got in there and I didn't have, I'd burn a lot of bridges in my career, I mean, I didn't play Green Hall for like 12 years. So, I was over at Willie's at Pertinalis and I got loaded and I couldn't get off my chair. And so I said, Willie, I was supposed to play Green Hall tonight. What'd I do? And he said, well, call him up and tell him you lied. And so Pootie brought me the phone and dialed Pat Bolak. And I said, Pat, I said, I know I got a gig tonight, but I lied. I'm not going to be there. He said, well, your band is. And I go, yeah, well, I'm not. and so I didn't play there for like 12 years.
Right.
Because I was embarrassed, but I finally was able to make them in and go back and play Green Hall. And what was the question? I'm sorry, Jack.
I think for me it was about
getting back into
driving
writing.
into Mance.
Yeah, well,
and Lightning Hopkins.
Well, and then so I kind of got I didn't have much of a career, I mean, I was from somewhere in there, and I was just pretty much a mess, and got to the point where I never could get a record that worked for me. Before, I guess, Loco Gringo's Lament, every record I put out had excuses, duct tape to them.
Right.
Well, we ran out of money. Hey, we mixed all 11 songs in one night. We just
something that
there was always something there but Loco Gringo's the first one. I go, here it is, take it or leave it. I did what I was supposed to wanted to do. And so somewhere in there, around 42, I was playing a place in Dallas called Charlie's Airport Lounge, which opened at 7 in the morning, and I was alternating sets with the lingerie show, where these women would wear lingerie and then walk around and try to get these drunk guys to, give them a credit card and buy this, lingerie for their girlfriend.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, it wasn't that great.
No, I mean great in a real bad way.
It was, that was alternating sets, That's back when I was still, getting real loaded. And then I, got cleaned up, and that's still the only gig I could get, which was really embarrassing. So anyhow, one night I had this really just, it was one of those things where I'd walk on stage, I go, play Redneck Mother. I'd open with Redneck Mother, and I go, here's another song I wrote, and I go, play Redneck Mother again.
Oh boy!
And so it wasn't fulfilling somehow. So somehow I went home one night, and I just got real quiet, and I said, I'm gonna write some songs. I want to be a real songwriter. And I'm going to write songs not to try to get somebody to record them. I'm not going to write songs to try to get a publishing deal where I've, got to give somebody a song a month. And I'm just going to write songs to see what I can contribute. See, I'm going to write this, write, and I'm going to write a song not thinking about its future. That was, I'm not going to write this song to try to, what's going to happen? I'm just going to try to write this song right there and do that.
Right.
So anyhow, I just kind of made that a commitment somehow or something. And so then I said, in order to be a real songwriter, I need to play guitar better. And then that's when I said, I had this fear of embarrassment and overcame that fear of embarrassment. Called this guy, said, "Will you teach me how to finger pick?" Because all these writers I really liked, early Dylan and Towns and all of them, they finger picked it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of, just a blur. And so I took guitar lessons and really started trying to, learn the craft of songwriting. And so I got back into finger picking, and then got back. I said, "Man, I'm gonna play like some lick like Lightning and Mance and John Lee Hooker and Tony Joe White."
Yeah.
So I really, because I wasn't gigging, I couldn't get a gig, and so I really worked on that for about 6 months, just getting into it, and then I started writing, the songs for Loco Gringo's Lament, and that really kind of turned it around.
I remember when that came out. I think I saw you play at somewhere in Arlington.
Where?
Railroad something, or somewhere in between Dallas and Fort Worth. Out by the stadiums, baseball stadium and stuff. But I remember just on KHYI, that radio station up there.
Oh yeah.
They started playing Conversations with the Devil.
Yeah.
And I had been a fan of yours the whole time. But I do remember, and I didn't know from songwriting. I was trying to write songs, but I was just trying to find a foothold somewhere to see how to write. And I remember just knowing, okay, there's a big difference between what he has done in the past and what this is. This is they're not just 3-minute throwaways. Like you say about Redneck Mother was like, oh yeah, I could have written that in my sleep. But which maybe that's true, but there's also a natural fine art to something that simple. And then also learning how to write songs in a way that you can be complex and simple at the same time. That's the hardest thing in the world to do.
It is. And the thing is I agree with you. Songwriting is like it's an anguish and a joy. You anguish over it to try to, get this right, and then when the line works, or you go, and you go, yeah, and it's like the universe just pats you on the back, go, attaboy.
That's right.
And that's really, for me, that's the feeling that's, more important than, for Judy, it's, getting a royalty check, and that's yippee. But, for me, it comes when the song really works. You go, yeah, okay, I like this. I'll play this for Jack Ingram. I'll play this for Guy Clark. I'll play this song for, hey, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You get that song where and it's not so much an ego thing. It's more of a self-esteem thing, because you've done something, like, that's esteemable.
Yeah.
I guess.
I call it. I used to, when I started having songs on the radio stuff, but it came at a price in some respects, and it's I decided I'm never going to put out another song or another record that I wouldn't play for Ray, for Willie, for Jesus, for whoever, for the real heroes.
Oh, don't invite me to that gig. That last one, just tell me.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, whatever. But I know what you mean. Yeah, it's somewhere in there. You start off, for me, it was beer and girls. I got a guitar because that was it. The Beatles came out. Wham! The Dylan came out. Folk music, whatever. Yeah, I'll get a guitar and maybe I'll have a chance with a girl.
Would you say you bought a pair of jeans? and a work shirt.
Yeah, as a folk singer.
Yeah, voila, I'm a folk
I'm
singer.
a folk singer. I got a work shirt and desert boots and some, and I think I had a corduroy coat with patches on it. I was a folk singer.
What was the name of the band? The Coachman?
Well, the Coachman was the one in. Well, let's see. We were the Coachman in high school. We were at Adamson High School, and we were the Coachman, and Stevie Ray's band was the Chessman.
Wow.
And so every time the Oak Cliff Tribune would always mix up the picture, and they'd put Stevie Ray's band, put the Coachman, and and then we were they were just the time. That's what we were. It always mixes it up.
Man, marquees are really humility waiting to happen.
It is
spelling your name wrong, having you whatever it is.
Yeah, but it was that was the band. The Coachman later became Three Faces West, and when we were in New Mexico. Now let me ask you something real quick. Let me ask you something. Didn't you one time say that you saw me play somewhere like in Conroe at some place, and somebody either snuck you in, or there was like a screen there, or when you first heard me or something? Was that you, or was that?
I bet it was Hayes.
Okay.
Because Hayes grew up in the same, right near Conroe.
Okay, let's edit out the Hayes comment.
Yeah, less about Hayes.
Yeah, something like that.
So hold on, were you buds with Stevie Ray?
Yeah, we had known each other in both dimensions, as they say. Back in the old days, there was Riverside Studios, which was there in Austin, way out, at Riverside, and almost 71, and it was owned by a felon. That's where Stevie Ray was mixing, I think, his first record. And I was out there for some reason, and it'd been up for about 24, 28 hours, and I'd been up for a while, and we, hit it, bonded over what we were doing. And but then, he got clean and sober, and he was very instrumental in helping me get, in the recovery.
Right.
But yeah, so we'd run into each other off and on, just quite a bit. And
is he your age?
Huh?
Was he your age? Like, were you all the same age?
I think he was a couple of years younger. I think he went to Kimball High School when we were at Adamson, and I think he was 2 or 3 years younger. I think Jimmy's around my age. I'm not sure.
And you, in that book, you said that you met a cheerleader named Michael Murphy. Was that
Michael Murphy? Yeah, he was. No, I wasn't trying to diss Michael Murphy.
Are you sure, man?
Yeah, no, he was.
Because that was the only description you gave at the time.
Oh man, no.
Now you can make amends if you'd like.
No, I don't. He was. No, I was a sophomore, and he was a cheerleader. At the deal, and I went, okay. But then all of a sudden they had a talent show, and he came out with a guitar, and he said, "This is a song I wrote." And all of a sudden, this light went off. He's a songwriter. That guy, and it just like, and that's the name that's in the parentheses on these 45s and albums. That's who that's a songwriter. That's the guy that wrote the song. It's in the parentheses. And I went, and so no, it wasn't a diss. I mean, it was just an idea that he was a cheerleader and really popular and everything. And then but I didn't have any idea that he was.
Also,
doing that and so it was. No, I didn't mean. I love cheerleaders.
I did too, man.
Yeah, I went out for cheerleader and I didn't make it.
So it was a diss.
No,
one of them damn cheerleaders. They won't let me.
No, I was pretty much, nothing there in high school. I mean, we came from Oklahoma, a really farming thing, and I was just a hillbilly kid, overalls and barefooted. We came to Dallas and there as a kid, and boy, I just, you talk about tough getting in fights, man. I got, pushed around a lot and all that stuff. And so
you did?
Oh yeah. Cause I was just like I say, I was a full tilt Okie hillbilly, man, as a kid, barefooted and, like I was 8 or 9 years old, and some guy came up and said, we're going to, after school, we're going to have a tussle. Well, I was used to like Abe Lincoln, where you wrestle with roof. This guy just came up and kicked me and knocked me down. I go, what happened to wrestling? He just jumped on me and started beating up. I go, whoa, we're supposed to be wrestling, like Abe Lincoln, or do something, and say uncle, then you win, not bleed.
This seemed real.
I wasn't supposed to bleed. So I had to kind of, it was as a kid, and I didn't, have any friends. I mean, I would. It's really weird, strange now, but I was in, I guess, 8 or 9 years old, and I would catch the bus in Oak Cliff and ride the bus to the Dallas Public Library, and I'd spend almost, 2 hours there till my mom got off work, and then would ride the bus back because she worked at Western Union right down there. So I spent a lot of time. I actually knew the Dewey Decimal System.
I did too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it now, but at the time, history. Oh, okay, go over there,
Yeah.
So, so it was. So the cheerleader thing. There was a really beautiful, popular girl. Came up to me and said, "Hey, I want to try out for cheerleader. I want you to be my partner." And it was just like, me? Whoa. And then there were more girls trying out than boys, so I had like 3 other girls that I had to lift up and do the cheer with and everything. And then the real beautiful girl quit, and then one of the other girls that I was supposed to be didn't really like me at all. So I didn't really give. I didn't give my all.
It was a bad collaboration.
I didn't give my all when I was. I just got right there. Yay, team! We're not going to vote for that guy.
Go.
Because I'd got a guitar by that time, and I was learning to play "Hang Down Your Head," Tom Dooley, and so it was. Things were more important than that.
So it was you, Michael Murphy. Was Willis in that same age group?
Willis Ramsey?
Well, yeah.
He was at the same age group, but at that high school, though, Adamson High School, it was B.W. Stevenson. B.W. was, Murphy was a senior, I was a sophomore. B.W. was a junior. And so, it was just each one kind of, Murphy played and I got a guitar, and then I think BW got a guitar because I got a guitar or was playing in a group. So
think about all that talent that came out of Dallas right
around
that time,
Stevie, all the Boss Skaggs, all Steve Miller. They were in, I think, North Dallas, the kind of rich schools, I think. And then, it was a time.
How'd you get to know Tony Joe White?
Well, I was up in Red River, New Mexico, with Three Faces West, and all of a sudden somebody came through and said that this guy Tony Joe White was playing at Castle Creek on a Wednesday night. So I called up Rod Kennedy and I said, "Hey man," because I'd heard Polk Salad Annie had just come out that summer. Just, I hadn't even written up the charts yet. It was just I'd heard it somewhere. I said, "Can I open for Tony Joe White?" And he said, "Sure." It was on a Wednesday night, so we played. So there was a kid that Rick Wayne didn't want to go, but so there was a kid. Somebody said there's a kid down at the Pizza Hut down there at the pizza place. He plays guitar. So I said, "Man, if I need have a guitar player with me." So I went down there and I looked in. There's a kid back there washing dishes, smoking a cigarette and everything. I said, "Hey, I hear you play guitar." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "You want to go to Austin Wednesday and open the show for Tony Joe White?" And he goes, "No, I think I'd rather do this."
You're kidding me.
And I said, "I went," and then I realized he was kidding. And he took off his apron and threw it down. I said, "I'm never coming back." And that was that's Terry Ware. So Terry Ware and I, we left.
No kidding.
Yeah, we left the gig and drove all night and got down to Austin and went in Castle Creek. Got there about 3 or 4 in the afternoon and met Tony Joe, and we just hit it off. He was so nice and everything. And then we hung out with him, and after the gig, then we drove back. Left there Austin about 2 a.m. Drove back, got to Red River about 7 o'clock, and I walked on stage that night, and here I am. It was the deal. So we met. And we just always stayed in touch. He was just a gracious guy. Yeah,
man, the one chord master.
He could. Yeah, he had that. He was
just monotonous or hypnotic.
Yeah,
not monotonous, hypnotic.
Some of that stuff he did was just I just loved it to death, and he was a lot of fun. He produced my first session, I'd written some songs up there, and he said, "Won't you come to Memphis?" So we drove to Memphis, and we went to Sun Studio. Actually had Duck Dunn on bass, and
Wow.
I think Leo LeBlanc on steel, and God, I can't remember. So we did like 3 or 4 little songs, just a demo, and he was just a great cat, man. He just always was really nice to me. You know, when I did Mother Blues,
Yeah.
right? So I do that 2 lines in there, like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the lady said, whenever I hear Polk say Atlantic, I just want to take off my clothes, dance around my underwear. I go down in Louisiana
Yeah.
where the alligators grow some meat. So I use those 2 lines, right? I sent him the song. And he said, "Oh, I love that. That's good. That's funny, Hubbard. That's funny." And so we were getting ready to put the record out. It was like Friday, and the record was coming out on Tuesday, and we said, "Oh, we need to make sure this is legal because somebody." So Judy wrote email to EMI and said, "Hey, we use these 2 lines from Tony Joe White's Polk Salad Annie down in Louisiana where the alligators grow some meat. We want to do that." They sent her back a text that says, "Okay, we'll let you use it for $5,000 and 66 2/3% of the publishing
No
on Mother
way.
Brothers Blues." So Judy wrote them back
A love letter
you know,
of
you know,
sorts.
I can't exactly say what she said, but it was very short. She goes, you know, "Yeah, we'll bleep it." So I called Tony Joe and I said, "Hey man, EMI wants $5,000 in the publishing on this song." He goes, "Oh man," those guys said, "I don't have that publishing anymore. I sold it, but let me call them." So anyhow, we got an email Monday, said you can use it for free, no obligation, anything. And I said, "I called Tony Joe," and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, I'll call them old boys," and I reasoned with them, said I wasn't going to write any more songs for them if they didn't let you have it for nothing.
Wow.
And so he was just that. He was like Jerry Jeff. He you know, really loved songwriters and musicians. You know, that was what was important to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what when I did my Grit and Groove thing, he came down and played it, and so anyway, he shows up, right? And it's just him and a drummer. He was the first guy that actually started doing that before the White Stripes and Black Keys.
Right.
So he shows up with this drummer, and I never had seen him. And so I go, "Tony Joe," and he says, "Oh, this is my drummer. This is Fleetwood." And I said, "Nice to meet you, Fleetwood." I said, "How'd y'all meet?" They both started laughing. And Tony Joe says, "Oh, I went to the asylum where he was at, and I checked him out for the weekend, and we never been back."
This is my buddy Fleetwood.
Yeah, he was in an institution, and
Had him
so I
out
checked
on
him
our
out for the week.
recognizances.
He'd never been back. You know, he was, but yeah, he was, yeah, you know, it was a great cat. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was.
you know,
He passed away, what, a couple years ago?
about 2 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you're the king of saying it's okay to drop names. Willie Nelson said that it's fine.
Mhm.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, just to sit down and talk with you and realize, I know I touched on it earlier, but the amount of people that have come into your life and stayed there
Yeah,
is pretty amazing.
it really is.
Ringo, like,
Yeah, and
you get to hang out with a Beatle, for God's sake.
yeah, that's this whole strange story too. I mean, I guess almost 10 years ago or something, somebody come up and said, "Ringo's talking about you on his website." And so I go to his website. It says, "Here's what I've been listening to. George Martin sent me some mono tapes of the Beatles session we did there." And, you know, and then he said, "Dylan has a new record. I like that." And says, "Fella in Texas, Ray Wylie Hubbard, Snake Farm. Woo, I like it." And so I went, wow, that's strange because I'd never met him or anything. So Rick Richards and I, you know, the drummer, we were doing a duo thing, kind of like that, Joe, just guitar and drums. And so we're out playing